The sheer level of buzz coming out of a recent test screening for Spider-Man Brand New Day is making claims so monumentally bold that honestly, I literally had to read them twice just to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. We're talking about assertions that completely shift our expectations for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, and I'm here to break down every single aspect of this for you. We're gonna separate the genuine, heart-pumping reasons for excitement from the one glaring yellow flag that we absolutely all need to be paying close attention to.
Okay, so let's tackle this astronomical claim head on. The best live-action Spider-Man movie ever made. I mean, really let that sink in for a second. Not only that, but this claim places the film solidly within the top 10 MCU films of all time. Now, whenever I look at a statement like this, my mind immediately jumps to the absolute heavy hitters that currently occupy that top 10 list, right? Movies like The Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home. You don't just crack that list by being a quote-unquote good superhero movie. No way. You only get into that elite tier by being genuinely, undeniably great, by perfectly balancing massive, jaw-dropping spectacle with deep, tear-jerking emotional resonance. And claiming the title of Best Live-Action Spider-Man, well, that instantly reignites those legendary Tobey Maguire versus Andrew Garfield versus Tom Holland debates. But listen, if this movie genuinely earns a place in that specific conversation, that alone is a staggering victory for all of us fans who've been following this character for literally decades.
Now, we absolutely have to look at the context of these claims. The source here is an insider who operates under the handle Doom Servant. They've only been active on the scene for a couple of months, but, and this is a very crucial but, they have already had a few major scoops explicitly confirmed. So let me explain this. A source with 2 proven hits is certainly not the same as a veteran source with 20, obviously, but it is absolute proof that they have real, verified access to behind-the-scenes information. So yeah, I'm taking this very seriously. However, I'm also bringing a healthy, analytical perspective to the table. I want us to enjoy this information for what it is, without letting it completely write the movie in our heads before we even buy our popcorn and sit down in the theater.
Section 1. The ultimate action sequence, raising the bar for the MCU.
This is the first specific claim that genuinely made my jaw drop. The best fight scene in the entire MCU. I really have to stop and ask, just how difficult is it to actually claim that title in a cinematic universe that has been running strong for over a decade and a half? The bar for action in Marvel films isn't just high anymore, it is absolutely in the stratosphere. I mean, let's take a quick trip down memory lane here. If you mentally scroll through the greatest hits of Marvel action, you're dealing with elite cinematic milestones. You have the brutal, exhausting, one-take mastery of the Daredevil hallway sequence back in 2015, which totally redefined how visceral superhero combat could feel. Then you have the massive character-driven spectacle of the Civil War airport battle in 2016. Fast forward to the overwhelming scale of the Infinity War clash in Wakanda in 2018, carrying the weight of the entire universe on its shoulders. And finally, the beautiful martial arts poetry of the Shang-Chi bamboo forest fight in 2021. To say a brand new film tops all of these heavyweights, that is a massive, massive swing.
But here is exactly why I believe this unbelievable claim is actually entirely possible. Destin Daniel Cretton, the director who gave us those incredibly creative, kinetic fight scenes in Shang-Chi, is the one directing Brand New Day. Now, take his distinct, incredible sensibility for martial arts choreography and apply it to Spider-Man. We're talking about arguably the most physically versatile, agile hero on the entire Marvel roster. We're trading those massive CGI energy beams for raw, visceral hand-to-hand combat, utilizing the environment in brilliant ways. It's a completely natural fit. And you know what? It gets even better, because the buzz strongly indicates that Daredevil is fighting alongside him in this film. So you now have 2 of the absolute most acrobatic, dynamic, street-level fighters in the MCU sharing the screen, and an action sequence directed by a master of kinetic combat. Honestly, if this turns out to be the best fight scene in the MCU, I won't be surprised at all.
Section 2. A multiverse saga standout. The stakes for the X-Men. So the test screeners specifically highlighted actress Sadie Sink, claiming her role is the strongest new character introduced in the entire multiverse saga. I'll be totally honest with you guys here. While that sounds like incredibly high praise on paper, we kind of have to acknowledge that the multiverse saga has certainly had its share of character development struggles so far. The competition for best new character recently isn't exactly as fierce as it was back in the Prime Avengers era, right? But regardless of that context, a standout performance in a massive film like this commands serious attention.
Let me emphasize why this matters so incredibly much. Strong buzz suggests Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey, Getting a great performance from her in Brand New Day is not just good news for this one specific Spider-Man movie. It is absolute foundational good news for the next decade of X-Men storytelling in the MCU. Jean Grey is one of the most psychologically complex, high-stakes characters in Marvel's entire comic library. We're talking about a character constantly battling incredible power and incredible trauma at the exact same time. Getting her casting, her tone, and her initial performance exactly right from her very first introduction is literally critical to the future of the franchise. So hearing that the reaction to her character is this strong this early on, that is genuinely thrilling to me.
Section 3. Balancing bleakness and humor, finding the right tone. I want to quickly remind everyone of the deeply devastating place Peter Parker was left in at the end of No Way Home. He is entirely isolated. He has no friends who remember his existence, he has no Stark tech to fall back on, and he has absolutely zero support system. It's rough. The early marketing for Brand New Day leans heavily into this emotionally depleted state, and honestly, that is the exact right story to tell for Peter right now. He needs to struggle and find his own footing as an independent street-level hero. But here's the thing. The crucial point to understanding this movie is tonal balance. 2 hours of unrelenting emotional bleakness without a single moment of relief is a terribly tough sit, even for a character we all deeply, deeply love. The buzz points to great needle drops and genuine humor emerging naturally from the characters, rather than being artificially forced in just to lighten the mood. Let me explain this. Getting that exact balance right is arguably one of the hardest things to achieve in superhero filmmaking. It's like walking a tightrope. You want the stakes to feel incredibly real, but you don't want to exhaust your audience. Marvel has definitely gotten it wrong plenty of times before, but nailing it here, that's what will elevate this film from just being a sad story to a deeply resonant, wildly engaging cinematic experience.
Section 4. The controversial ending problem. The one major yellow flag.
So, the rough cut reportedly earned a massive 9.5 out of 10. That is an incredibly high score, practically off the charts. But despite that glowing number, there was one glaring critique that we need to unpack right now. The screener explicitly stated that they did not like the ending of the movie.
So, why exactly didn't they like the ending? Let's use this question to pivot directly into the legitimate storytelling concerns surrounding the final moments of this film. Because, as we all know, a bad ending can leave a super bitter taste over an otherwise absolutely perfect movie experience.
What we're looking at is a conclusion where Peter is reportedly left at an absolute physical and emotional low point. He is essentially on the brink of losing entirely. The core concern here is that after spending 2 hours actively fighting alongside a character through massive stakes, the movie ends in a place that feels far more like a bleak chapter break setting up the next movie, rather than delivering a satisfying, standalone narrative conclusion. And if I'm being totally honest with you, that is a highly legitimate storytelling critique. Audiences want closure. They want a sense of triumph, or at the very least some solid resolution. We don't just want an elongated prologue for the next big ensemble team-up, right?
However, I'm going to directly counter that critique right now. Test screenings famously, and I mean always, withhold post-credit scenes, and the buzz strongly points toward a Venom symbiote appearance right at the very end. This would essentially rescue Peter from this immense low point and actively set up the iconic black suit storyline as we head into Secret Wars. Think about it. The emotional weight of the symbiote latching onto Peter when he is at his most vulnerable and isolated, that is a massive piece of his mythology. If this vital piece of the puzzle is what the test audience didn't get to see, then this entire ending problem might completely solve itself. The symbiote offers that desperate, dark salvation Peter needs, providing the exact narrative punctuation mark a film like this demands when the final version is finally released in theaters.
Section 5. Reality check on hype. Managing our expectations.
Now, we have to remember that early screening reactions have a notoriously uneven track record within the MCU. For every movie where glowing internal hype perfectly matched the final product, there is a counterexample. Look at the recent Captain America: Brave New World. Early on, people walked out with quiet concerns about the action and pacing, and when the release window hit, the audience reception was much more mixed, proving those early concerns were completely justified. But the inverse happens too, where quiet test screenings turn into massive public hits. The truth is, one incredibly enthusiastic person breaking their NDA is just one single data point. It tells us something, sure, but it absolutely doesn't tell us everything. The only true verdict comes from the general audience on opening weekend.
But even with those reservations, I want to highlight the details that give me immense hope for this project. We're hearing about specific, beautifully grounded details, like Peter interacting with an EVA AI companion, and him actively using a hand-sewn suit built entirely from scratch.
These aren't just minor plot points. These are deliberate, creative choices that prove to me the team behind this movie is treating the core, scrappy, relatable identity of Peter Parker with total, genuine respect. They clearly understand what makes the character work at his absolute best.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Is this truly the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made? Well, only July can give us the definitive answer to that question. But based on the incredible action pedigree, the foundational character introductions, the careful tonal balance, and the clear, undeniable respect for Peter Parker's roots, the evidence is pointing towards something absolutely spectacular. So go in with an open mind, maintain that healthy perspective we talked about, and get ready. Because I have a feeling we are in for an incredibly wild ride.